Ben stood near the back of the grand hall, holding a small tablet in one hand and wiping his sweaty palm on his jacket with the other. The marble floor beneath him shimmered with starlight patterns. Giant pillars stretched high into the air, decorated with symbols from 100 different worlds. This was his first day at the Galactic Concord Assembly, and he already felt like he didn't belong. All around him stood tall, strange-looking beings. Some had wings, some had glowing eyes. A few floated instead of walking. He was the only human in the room, at least for now. Earth's main ambassador, Madame Lean, was talking to someone important. So Ben had been left alone. He had trained for this, studied alien languages, memorized customs. Still, nothing had prepared him for actually being here. Suddenly, the crowd shifted. A tall figure entered through the main doors. Everyone stopped speaking. She walked like water. Her form was made of crystal and light, with gentle waves of color passing through her body. She had no face like humans, but something in her posture and the quiet power of her steps made everyone turn. Even the tall, proud Grellians stepped aside. Ben stared, wide-eyed. "That's her," someone whispered. Talron of Viller, one of the high speakers. Ben had heard about the Villari. They were ancient, powerful, and quiet. No one, truly, understood their ways. They rarely left their home planet, and when they spoke, whole worlds listened. Talron moved across the hall until she stood near Earth's small delegation table. Madame Lean returned just in time and gave Ben a sharp look. "Stand straight," she whispered. "She's a guest." Talron's voice was not spoken out loud. It echoed softly inside their minds, gentle and smooth like a flute in the wind. "Earth, we welcome your step into the Concord." Madame Lean bowed low. "We are honored, Speaker Talron." Talron turned her shining body slightly. She was looking at Ben, or at least he felt like she was. Her soft light seemed to focus on him. "You are young," she said. "New too." The stars Ben straightened. "Yes, ma'am," he said. His voice was louder than expected in the silent room. A few aliens turned toward him. His face turned red. It's my first day." Talron tilted her head. Colors rippled across her body. "Do you fear us?" Ben blinked. "No," he said quickly. He paused. He hadn't prepared for this. He looked at her, this tall, glowing crystal being that had just asked if he feared her. Her colors moved like music. She seemed powerful, but also calm. Then, without thinking, he smiled and said, "You're beautiful." The room fell silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Even Madame Lean's mouth opened slightly in shock. Talron stood still for a moment. The light in her body pulsed slowly. Then she raised one long, crystal-like arm. A thin line of silver light appeared in the air between them. It floated down and gently wrapped itself around Ben's finger. It solidified into a small, smooth silver ring. Ben looked down at it, confused. "What? What is this?" Talron's voice was calm, even softer now. "You have spoken a vow. In the tradition of Velar, this is your mark of bond." Madame Lean took a quick step forward. "Speaker Talron, I believe there is a misunderstanding." Talron raised one hand, and the room fell silent again. "He has called me beautiful in the ancient tongue of Earth. It is a declaration, a binding vow of heart." Ben's mouth went dry. "Wait, no, I just said it as a compliment." Talron turned toward him. "On Velar, such words are sacred. They are not spoken without intent." The silver ring on Ben's finger gave off a soft glow. It felt warm, not painful, just strange. "I didn't know," Ben said, his voice small. "I didn't mean it like that." Talron tilted her head. Her light shifted slightly to a cooler blue. "Intent does not erase truth. The bond is placed. It will remain until the claiming trial is complete." Ben looked at Madame Lean. "Trial? What trial?" Madame Lean didn't answer. She looked as shocked as he felt. Around the hall, whispers began to rise. Representatives from other species leaned in to talk quietly. Some looked amused, impressed. A few looked jealous. A Grellian diplomat chuckled. "Human claimed Talron. Incredible." Ben stared at the ring. "I didn't mean to claim anybody. I was just being polite. Talron stepped closer. Her light glowed warmer now. You are now marked by Velar, Ben of Earth. You have spoken beauty into form.
Oh.
In our eyes, you are no longer unseen. Then she turned and walked away, her glowing form disappearing into the crowd. Ben stood frozen. I think I just accidentally proposed to an alien, he whispered. Ben sat in a quiet room inside Earth's small embassy station on the Concorde space station. His hands were on the table. He was staring at the silver ring on his finger like it might jump off and run away, but it didn't. It just glowed softly, as if it were alive. Madame Lean stood near the door, speaking to someone on a secure cum line. Her voice was calm, but tight, like a rope pulled too hard. No, I'm telling you, it wasn't intentional. Yes, I know what the Valari bond means. Yes, we're handling it. Ben could hear every word. He leaned back in the chair and sighed. I just said she was beautiful. An assistant named Cavi, a quiet man with kind eyes, walked in and placed a small cup of tea in front of him. You said the one word that starts wars in some cultures, Cavi said gently. Ben frowned. Seriously, Cavi nodded. To us it's a compliment. To them, it's a vow. Ben looked at the glowing ring. But that doesn't make sense. I didn't mean anything like that. I was just trying to be nice. Madame Lean ended the call and turned to him. I know, Ben, but the Valari aren't like us. Their customs are old, deep, and sacred. Calling someone beautiful in their presence, especially in a formal setting, is the same as asking for lifelong union. Ben blinked. You mean marriage? In a way, she said. They don't have the same word. But yes, you offered a bond, and she accepted. That ring is the symbol of it. He laughed nervously. Can't we just tell them I take it back? Madame Lean's face stayed serious. No, that would insult her. And if you insult Talron, you insult the Valari. If you insult the Valari, she paused, then Earth's membership in the Concorde could be questioned. Some species are already unsure if we belong here. Ben's smile disappeared. He looked at the ring again. Didn't feel heavy, but it might as well have been made of stone. So what now? He asked. Cavi tapped his tablet and pulled up a diagram. There is a process. It's called the claiming trial. You go through a series of ancient rituals. At the end, both parties choose. If both say yes, the bond becomes permanent. If even one says no, the ring dissolves. Looked up. So I just have to survive the rituals, and then I can say no? Yes, Madame Lean said. But the trials are not easy. They test the heart, the mind, and the soul. They were made for Valari, not humans. Has any human ever gone through it before? He asked. Cavi shook his head. You'd be the first. Ben groaned. Great. First. Contact and I mess it up with one sentence. Madame Lean stepped closer. Listen to me, Ben. This isn't just about you. The whole galaxy is watching. Some think humans are too emotional, too reckless. But others believe we bring something new: heart, curiosity, kindness. Ben gave a tired smile. And clumsy words? Yes, she said, but also courage. Took a deep breath. Okay, what do I have to do? Later that day, Ben stood in front of a Valari translator in a large white room shaped like a star. A wide circle of diplomats, watchers, and curious guests sat along the edges. Talron stood across from him, tall and glowing like before. Her light today was a soft violet with touches of gold. The Valari translator floated beside them, clear sphere that spoke both languages. Begin the first trial, the translator said. The trial of understanding. A pedestal rose between them. On it sat 3 stones, one red, one blue, one green. Talron spoke first. In Valari thought, colors meaning. Each of these stones holds a truth of my kind. You must place your hand on the one you believe speaks of me. Ben stared at the stones. No instructions, no hints. He looked at Talron. She stood still, no sign of emotion on her glowing body. Red, he whispered, thinking out loud. Could be danger, but she doesn't feel dangerous. Blue, maybe peace, but she's too strong for just peace, Green. He paused. Something about her reminded him of nature, but also strength, but not passive. He reached out and placed his hand on the green stone. It pulsed gently. Talron tilted her head slightly. Then she bowed her head once. You see more than most, the crowd murmured. Ben let out a breath. The translator spoke. He has passed the first trial. After the trial, Ben was led back to his room. He sat on the bed, rubbing his face. He didn't know what he was feeling. It wasn't fear. It wasn't love either. It was something new, a strange respect, mixed with curiosity. Talron was not just an alien diplomat. She was something else. She had a presence, a calm fire. She didn't laugh or smile, but her words were never cold. Cavi came in again, holding a list. Next trial is tomorrow, he said. The trial of silence. Ben raised an eyebrow. Silence. Cavi nodded. You and Talron will be placed in a room together. No talking, no movement, just sharing. Space for 6 hours. Ben stared. That's it? Cavi smiled. For humans, maybe. But for Valari, silence speaks volumes. They sense emotion and stillness. They listen with more than ears. Ben looked at the ring again. It was glowing a little brighter now. What if she starts to like me? He asked, half joking. Cavi shrugged. Then you'll have a harder decision at the end. Ben looked out. The window at the stars? He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about a mistake anymore. This was a journey. Ben sat quietly in the round chamber known as the Room of Stillness. The walls were smooth and white, shaped like a pearl on the inside. There was no furniture, no light from outside, only a soft, natural glow that came from the ceiling above. Across from him, Talron stood perfectly still. Her glowing form shifted slowly between soft purple and gentle blue. Her body didn't move. She didn't blink because she had no eyes, yet Ben could feel her attention on him. The rules were clear. No talking, no movement. 6 hours, this was the trial of silence. For Valari, silence was not empty. It was communication, a deeper kind of language. In silence, the Valari believed hearts could speak when words failed. Ben had lasted 20 minutes. He already wanted to move, to stretch his legs, to scratch his head. But he held still. He didn't want to fail. Not because of politics or Earth's reputation, but because deep down, he wanted to understand her. He watched Talron. She stood like a statue, but somehow not cold, not distant. Her light was peaceful. She seemed present. Alive in a quiet way he didn't fully understand. Time passed slowly. Ben's thoughts drifted. He remembered his childhood on Earth. Looking up at the stars, he had always wanted to meet aliens, to visit other worlds. But nothing in the stories had prepared him for this, for the silence, for the emotion, for the strange silver ring still glowing on his finger. He looked at it again. It didn't just feel like a symbol anymore. It felt like a connection. Not love, not yet, but a beginning. Hours passed. When the soft chime finally echoed through the room, signaling the end of the trial, Ben let out a slow breath. His legs were numb, but his mind felt calm. Talron stepped forward and bowed her head. Slightly, you held silence well. Her voice echoed gently. You did not fill it with fear. Ben stood slowly and nodded. I wanted to hear what silence sounds like to you. Her color shifted this time, with warm gold in the middle. It almost looked like a smile, though her face had no mouth. It sounds like truth. Later that evening, Ben sat with Cavi in the embassy's small dining area, eating something that looked like soup but tasted like honey and herbs. So, Cavi asked, how was 6 hours of sitting still with a glowing alien? Ben chuckled. Honestly, peaceful. Weird, but peaceful. He passed the second trial, only 3 left. Ben blinked. 3. I thought there were 2 more. Cavi shook his head. They've added 1. Ben raised an eyebrow. Why? Because Talron requested it. Ben paused, spoon halfway to his mouth. She added a trial. Kavi nodded slowly. Yes, she said it would help you understand something deeper about the Valari way. Ben didn't know how to feel about that. Confused? A little nervous? What is the new trial? It's called the Trial of Memory. The next morning, Ben stood with Talron, again this time inside the Chamber of Reflection, a long hallway made of mirrored walls. Each mirror showed not a reflection, but scenes memories. Awesome. Were from Valari history. Others were personal. Talron's soft voice echoed through the hall. The Trial of Memory allows a shared look into our past, not full memories. Only feelings. You may choose to enter or not. Ben looked at her. If I say no, then I will not show mine, and the bond cannot deepen. Ben looked at the nearest mirror, showed a forest of crystal trees. A small Valari child stood. Beneath them, completely alone, he stepped forward. The moment his hand touched the glass, the world blurred. Suddenly, Ben stood inside the memory. He felt the cold wind of the Valari forest, heard distant echo soft songs, fading laughter, and he felt something else. Loneliness. The small Valari child in the scene looked up. She glowed only faintly. Her color was pale, almost invisible. Talron's voice whispered in his mind. This is my first memory. I was born different. Too quiet. The others called me dim light. I spent years in silence before I learned to glow strong. Ben felt a wave of sadness, not his own. He walked deeper into the mirrors. Another scene appeared. Talron, now older, standing alone at the edge of a celebration. Lights danced in the sky. Valari sang in circles, but she stood outside them. Watching, listening. Even when I became speaker, I remained apart, her voice said. I speak for many, but few speak to me. Ben didn't know what to say. His chest felt tight. Then one more mirror appeared. It showed him Ben standing. In the grand hall, smiling awkwardly, saying the words, You're beautiful. In the memory, Talron's color changed. For the first time, her light turned to pure, glowing gold. You were the first to see me, without fear, without duty, without asking for power or favor. Just truth. The memory faded. Ben found himself. Back in the hallway, Talron stood beside him, quiet. He looked at her glowing form and said softly, I didn't know it would mean that much. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her light shimmered gently like sunlight through water. That evening, Ben sat alone in his room, staring at the stars outside the window. The ring on his finger felt warm again. He didn't know what he was feeling. This wasn't love, not yet. But it wasn't a mistake anymore either. He had seen her truth, and maybe she had seen his. The trials were not just about passing tests. They were about understanding. And with each step, Ben was beginning to understand Mora, about Talron, about Viller, and about himself. The next trial was called the Trial of Risk. He didn't know what that meant, but for the first time, he wasn't afraid. Ben stood in the middle of a large open platform. The floor beneath his feet was smooth, dark metal. Round him the stars stretched out like a sea of light. The platform floated far above the Concorde space station, held in place by invisible gravity locks. This was the place for the next part of the claiming trial. It was called the Trial of Risk. Talron stood beside him, her glowing form calm and steady. Her color today was a soft amber, mixed with silver threads of light. A Valari elder floated near them in a hover chair. He wore robes of glowing patterns that changed shape slowly. His voice echoed through a translator's sphere. The Trial of Risk is not about danger, the elder explained. It is about trust. It's about action without full knowledge. Each partner will take a step forward without knowing the outcome. Ben glanced at Talron. She gave no sign of fear or concern. The elder continued, There are two gates before you. One leads to safety, the other leads to isolation. Only one of you may choose. The other must follow without question. Two tall doorways shimmered ahead. One glowed blue, the other glowed red. Ben swallowed. And if we choose the wrong one, then you will be separated for one full day, the elder said, without contact, without words. A full day in silence. Alone. The separation shows whether your bond is strong enough to survive uncertainty. Ben took a deep breath. Who chooses first? He asked. Talron will choose. You will follow. That is the risk. Talron stepped forward. She said nothing. She didn't hesitate. She chose the red gate. It shimmered and opened slowly. Like a curtain of liquid glass, she stepped inside and vanished. Ben stood alone for a moment. He didn't know what lay beyond that red gate. He didn't know if it led to connection or to silence. But in that moment, he remembered something. Her memories, her voice, her truth, and how she had never hesitated to trust him. So Ben stepped forward, entered the red gate. For a few seconds, everything went dark. Then slowly, the light returned. Ben found himself standing in a quiet chamber. It was dim, peaceful, and shaped like a circle. Talron stood at the far end. She was waiting. Ben looked around. Is this? She nodded. You chose trust, she said simply. And so did I. The red gate had not been the gate of isolation. It had been the gate of union. The elder's voice echoed again from above. He followed without knowing. She led without doubt. The risk was shared. The bond holds. Talron stepped closer. Ben felt something shift inside him. He no longer felt like a lost visitor, or a human caught in the middle of a political mistake. He felt like something more. Later that evening, back at the Earth's embassy, Cavi sat across from Ben, pouring tea. So you trusted her, Cavi said with a smile. That's rare. Most people don't trust what they can't fully understand. Ben stirred his tea. She didn't even pause. She knew exactly which gate to choose. Did she? Ben looked up, you mean? She didn't know. Cavi shook his head. That's the whole point. It was risk for both of you. She may have seemed sure, but even Valari cannot see the future. Ben leaned back, thinking. She still stepped forward, he said. Cavi nodded. That's what makes the bond strong. That night, Ben couldn't sleep. He walked quietly through the halls of the station, hands in his pockets. The silver ring glowing softly on his finger. The galaxy outside the windows looked peaceful, but his mind was full of questions. What did this bond truly mean? Was it just ceremony or something more? He remembered Talron's first memory, the loneliness, the silence, the struggle to find her light. And now, she had chosen to step forward and to risk for him. He had done the same. Maybe that was how understanding began, not with words, but with action, with trust. The next day, Ben and Talron met again in the Hall of Stone, a room built by ancient Valari architects. It was quiet, strong, and filled with soft energy. Talron looked at him, her color soft and steady. You have passed 3 trials, she said. There is only one left. Ben nodded. I'm ready. She tilted her head slightly. It is. Not a test of the mind or the heart, or even of trust. Then what is it? The trial of reflection. You must speak your truth, and I will speak mine. Ben blinked. That's it? We just talk? Truth is never simple, she said. A soft platform rose between them. It formed 2 seats, facing each other. No lights, no translators. Just silence. They sat, tall single quotes. Ren spoke first. When I first saw you, I thought you were foolish. Soft-hearted, you looked at the galaxy with wide eyes, like a child. Ben winced. Thanks, but then I watched you. You were honest when others were fake. You laughed when others stayed silent. You called me beautiful not to impress, not to gain, but simply because you meant it. Her voice grew quiet. No one ever said that to me before, not even my own kind. Ben swallowed. You are beautiful. She looked at him. And you are brave, in your own strange human way. He smiled. Then he spoke. When I met you, I didn't understand a thing. I thought I had ruined everything. Didn't know what the ring meant. I didn't know what you meant. She listened silently. But after each trial, I started to see you not just as an alien, but as someone real, someone kind. Someone alone, like I've been sometimes. He looked at the ring. I didn't choose this bond at first, but now I think maybe I would. Talrin said nothing, but her glow turned bright gold. At the end of the trial of reflection, the elders gathered. The final words were spoken. The bond may now be accepted. Or released. Ben looked at Tal. She stepped forward and reached out her hand. Her voice was soft, but clear. I choose to keep the bond. Do you? Ben looked at her hand, at the stars beyond the glass, at the glowing ring on his finger. He smiled. I do. The bond was accepted. Ben stood next to Talrin in the Great Hall of Witnesses, where thousands of Valari lights floated in the air like silent stars. Soft music, more like vibrations than sound, filled the space, moving gently through the walls and the floor. The ring on Ben's finger pulsed with quiet warmth. He looked at Talron. Her light shimmered a soft, joyful gold. Though her face had no expression, Ben could feel her calm, steady presence beside him. She was different from him in every way, and yet something connected them now. Not just a bond of ceremony, but something deeper. He didn't fully understand it, but he didn't want to run from it either. Across the room, a row of Earth delegates sat with mixed expressions. Some looked curious, others confused. Few frowned. Ambassador Lyra, the head of Earth's council, stood slowly. She was an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. She raised her voice. With respect, the human side was not prepared for this bond. It was formed without agreement, without planning. Talron stepped forward. Bonds cannot be planned. They must be chosen. And he is chosen. Ben felt the weight of every eye in the room fall on him. He cleared his throat and stepped beside Talron. I didn't know what this ring meant when I gave it, he said. But every trial helped me understand more. I didn't come here to fall into politics or make history. I came here as a person. And this, he raised his hand with the ring. This is personal. The room was quiet. Then Cavi, who had been standing in the background, clapped once. Then again, a few others joined. Slowly, gently. The Valari didn't clap. They glowed. Soft lights filled the chamber, swirling like gentle waves. It was a Valari way of showing approval. Talron's light glowed brighter than any other. Over the next few days, the news of the bond spread, not just across the Valari system, but across the galaxy. News screens buzzed on spaceports and Earth. Stations alike. Human and Valari form first true bond. What does it mean for interstellar relations? Ben Turner. Accidental hero or symbol of a new age? Valari traditions meet human emotion. A turning point in galactic diplomacy. Ben didn't feel like a hero. He still had tea with Cavi every morning. Still got lost in the station hallways. Still woke up unsure what each new day would bring. But Talron was always nearby. Not always close in distance, but never far in feeling. Sometimes she would appear without a word and sit with him in silence. Sometimes she would share old Valari poems spoken without sound, but full of feeling. Sometimes they would simply walk, side by side, saying nothing at all. And somehow, that was enough. But not everyone was pleased. One evening, a meeting was called in the Earth's embassy. Ambassador Lyra sat at the head of the table. Around her were scientists, advisors, and a few military officers. Ben was invited, but not welcomed. Lyra folded her hands. Ben, we respect your courage. Duh. But we must be honest, or bond has created tension. Other species are watching. Are suspicious, others are worried. Ben frowned. I didn't break any law. I didn't hurt anyone. You've changed something, she replied. You've created a link between two species in a way no one expected. Some are afraid of what it means. Cavi spoke from the side. Or maybe they're afraid of what it could lead to. Ben looked at the group. You want me to undo? Lyra shook her head. That's not possible. The bond has been accepted by the Valari. But we need to understand what it means. Emotionally, politically, spiritually. You must be careful now. You're not just a visitor anymore. You're a symbol. Ben sighed. I didn't ask to be. But you are, she said gently. The next Day Talron brought him to a place outside the city Duma, natural space, where glowing plants grew in spirals, and soft winds passed over small hills. They sat on a smooth stone. Ben looked up at the stars above. Earth wants me to be careful, he said quietly. Some think I'm a mistake, others think I'm a symbol. And what do you think? Talron asked. Ben thought for a long moment. I think I'm just a person, trying to understand something bigger than me. Talron reached out slowly, her glowing hand hovering near his. That is all I ever was, too. Ben looked at her. Do you regret the bond? She didn't answer with words. Instead, she placed her hand gently over his. Warmth passed between them, soft, glowing light wrapped around their fingers like silk. No. Later that night, Ben sat alone in his room, looking at the stars again. He didn't know what would come next. Maybe Earth would ask him to return. Maybe some groups would protest. Maybe others would celebrate. But for now, he was here. He wore the ring, and he wasn't alone. Days passed, but peace did not last. Ever since the bond between Ben and Talron became official, the galaxy had been watching. Some watched with wonder, others with doubt, a few with fear. Ben didn't see it coming, he thought. The hard part was over. He had passed the trials. The Volari accepted him. Talron stood beside him, but in the shadows of space, something darker was moving. One evening, Cavi called Ben to his office. The room was small, but filled with quiet energy. Old books floated on light shelves. A teapot hissed gently in the corner. Cavi's face was serious. Ben, he said softly, we have received a message. It is not from Volari, and not from Earth. Ben raised an eyebrow. Then who?
How?
The Thalan Coalition, Cavi replied. Powerful group of species who believe in tradition. They believe. Your bond with Talron is unnatural. Ben felt a chill in his chest. Unnatural? Cavi nodded. They say it's dangerous. That such a bond could destroy balance between species. They say it must be undone. Ben sat down. But it can't be undone. No, Cavi said. Can't. And even if it could. Would you want that? Ben didn't answer right away. He thought of Talron, of their long walks, silent talks, and the quiet way she always stood beside him even when others didn't. No, he said firmly. I wouldn't. Cavi gave a tired smile. Then you must prepare. The storm is coming. A day later, Talron met Ben on the upper deck of the space station. The stars looked calm. The galaxy seemed quiet. But Talron's light was pale. They are coming, she said. The Thalan. She nodded. 3 ships. Fast, armed. Not for war, but not for peace either. Ben clenched his fists. Why now? We didn't hurt anyone, just bonded. Some fear what they do not understand. Ben looked at her. What if they try to take me? Talron's light flared slightly, and they will find me standing in their path. The next day, the Thalan delegation arrived. 3 tall beings, with silver skin, sharp armor, and glowing eyes entered the main chamber. They moved with stiff grace, like statues come to life. Their leader, called Vorn, stepped forward. He looked at Ben, then at Talron. You have broken what was never meant to be joined, he said. Human and Velarier bond goes against the nature of the galaxy. Ben stepped forward, trying to stay calm. Who decides that? We do, Vorn said. The guardians of balance. Talron's light burned bright. You guard fear, not balance. This bond was chosen freely. It harms no one. Vorn ignored her. He looked at Ben again. Leave with us. Quietly, we will study the bond, learn its limits, and remove it before damage spreads. Ben stared at him. I'm not going anywhere. Vorn's voice became sharp. You defy us. Ben held up his ringed hand. I chose this. So did she. And I won't let fear take that away. For a moment it felt like something might break. Then Talron stepped between them. Her light grew strong white, but gold and deep blue. A Valari defense stance. Touch him, she said calmly, and you will know what it means to face bonded light. Vorn narrowed his eyes but did not move. He turned without a word and left with his group. But the warning had been made. The threat had begun that night. Ben sat alone in his room. He looked at his hand at the glowing silver ring. It didn't feel like just a mistake anymore. It didn't feel like an accident. It felt real and heavy. Talrun entered quietly. "You are afraid," she said. Ben nodded. "Yeah, I guess I... And what if they come back with more ships? What if they try to hurt you?" "They might," she said. "But I am not alone." "We are not alone." She moved closer and sat beside him. When Valari bond, it is not just ceremony. It is connection. Memory. Energy. Shared pain. Shared strength. Ben looked at her. "Does that mean we can fight together?" "Yes," she said. "But more than that, it means we can stand together, and others will see that. Some may still fear, but some will follow." Ben smiled. "You always say the right thing." "No," she replied. "I only say the truth." The next day, something unexpected happened. Messages came in from other species. Not warnings, not threats, but support. One came from the Irani, a peaceful aquatic race. They wrote, "We welcome your bond. We wish to understand more. Please visit our water moon when ready." Another came from the Thera, a species of light walkers. "Your connection shows a path forward. Not fear, but unity. We stand by you." Earth's Council sent a new message. "We recognize the bond. It was not planned, but it is real." Ben Turner now speaks not just for himself, but for a new kind of future. Ben read the words with wide eyes. He turned to Talron. "Maybe the storm is passing." She glowed softly. "No," she said. "The storm is still here. But now, we are not facing it alone." The galaxy held its breath. 3 days had passed since the Thalon left without taking Ben, but their warning still echoed in every space. Station, every broadcast. Every ship moving between stars. The Valari watched the skies with calm strength. Earth's diplomats waited with silent hope. And Ben. Ben stood beside Talron, no longer afraid, but no longer unaware either. He had learned something during his time here. The bond he had with Talron wasn't just a gesture. It wasn't about a ring, or even about love in the way humans described. It was about choice. 2 very different lives. 2 minds. 2 hearts. Choosing each other, and standing together when others tried to pull them apart. On the 4th day, the Thalon returned. This time, they didn't come in silence. They arrived with 8 ships. Large, dark, floating above the Valari skies like storm clouds. Inside the Great Hall, leaders from Earth, Valari, and nearby allies gathered. Ben and Talron were there too, standing. At the center of it all, the Thalon leader Vorn stepped forward again. His silver armor shone under the lights. He spoke slowly, carefully. "You were warned," he said, "and yet you continue. You wear the bond like a badge. You speak of unity, but unity without order is chaos." Ben stepped forward. His voice didn't shake. "You call it chaos because you don't control it? The people know. Matter their world have the right to choose who they stand with." Talron's light shimmered beside him. "The bond is not a threat, but your fear is." Vorn looked around the room. "Then show us. Show us that your bond is more than ceremony. Show us its strength, or we walk away. And others may follow us, not you." Ben blinked. "Show you how?" Vorn raised a hand. "There is a place of testing. A world with ancient machines older. Then all of us, they judge connection, not power. Go there. Let the machines see your bond. If it is true, we will leave you in peace. And if it's not," Ben asked. Vorn's eyes glowed cold. "Then the galaxy will know it was only noise." They agreed. 3 ships left for the testing world. 1 Thalon, 1 Valari, 1 neutral. The planet was dry, rocky, and full of silence. In the center stood a tall structure, half temple, half machine. Its walls glowed with shifting lights. No one had built it in living memory. Talron placed her hand on the entry stone. It opened inside. The walls changed shape as they walked. Smooth stones floated in the air. Light moved like water across the ceiling. Then a voice soft and ancient spoke from nowhere. To walk as one. If the bond is real, you will not fall. If it is false, the path will close. Ben looked at Talron. Ready? Yes. Stepped forward. The test was not made of fire or weapons. It was made of memories. Ben found himself back in the garden where he had met Talron the first time. But now it was empty, cold, silent. Then Talron was there, but something was wrong. She looked away from him, her light dim. You are not Valari, her voice said. You don't belong. Ben reached out. That's not her. Another Talron appeared glowing, strong. Then show her what is true. Ben stepped forward, remembering the real Talron, the one who sat with him in silence, who stood beside him in front of the Thalon, who taught him that light and love didn't always need words. He reached for the dim one and whispered, You're not alone. Her light grew, the memory faded. A second test came. They stood on a broken bridge. If one of them stepped wrong, they would fall into endless dark. Talron looked at Ben. Do you trust me? He nodded. Always. They walked side by side, not speaking, letting the ring guide their steps. Light appeared beneath their feet with each movement. When they reached the other side, the ancient voice returned. Bond true. Path remains open. Outside. The Thalon waited. Ben and Talron walked from the temple, hand in hand. A symbol glowed above them, a soft spiral of silver and gold. The test was complete. Vorn stepped forward, his face unreadable. You passed. Ben raised his chin. We didn't pass for you. You passed for us. Vorn didn't argue. Instead, he nodded once. Then the Thalon will not interfere. Others may still disagree, but we will not lead them. With that, he turned and left. News spread fast. The images of the glowing spiral, the temple, Ben and Talron, walking as one, across planets and stations. Many were inspired, others were challenged, but something had changed. People started asking questions. If a human and a Valar can bond, what else is possible? Weeks later, Earth invited Ben to return. They offered him medals, a speech, a title. He said no. He stayed. Not just for Talron, but for something more. He began working as a bridge between cultures, helping others understand what it meant to connect across difference. He didn't try to be a hero. He just tried to be honest. One night, he and Talron stood again under the stars. No ships. No threats. No speeches. Just them. Ben looked at her and smiled. When I told you that you were beautiful, I had no idea what was going to happen. Neither did I, she replied, her light warm. But I'm glad I said it, Ben whispered. Talron nodded. So am I. They stood in silence, hand in hand, while the stars watched in peace. The end.